Hello and malelele. My name is Mele Kavapalu.
My name is Kolini Fusitua. Welcome to Oceania Celebration.
Today we are celebrating and showcasing the Tongan culture. I will be doing a Tongan Tatlunga, a very cultural sacred dance, which represents women who are highly valued in the Tongan community. Matriarch is very important to our culture, and women also dance smooth movements, and then men typically are protecting those who are dancing. And today the song will be Lele Me Toke Lau.
Hi, Malo Lele. My name is Kolini Fusitua. I am from the Thailand island nation of Tonga, one of the Polynesian islands in the South Pacific. I am here in Portland, Oregon. I'm a community leader by default. I support the Tongan community from their youth, their students, their parents, and the community at large. From working with the school, with the students, working with the parents, with supporting our Tongan community, having the community events such as the Tonga Day Festival here in Portland, Oregon. I'm the founder of Tonga Day in 2017. On my 9 to 5, I am the Pacific Island Community Coordinator for immigrant and refugee community organization here in Portland, Oregon. Thank you.
Hello and malelele. My name is Mele Kavapalu, and I grew up in Southeast Portland, Oregon. My family are descendants from the Kingdom of Tonga, and in 2017, I was the Rose Festival Princess for Madison High School, now currently named McDaniel High School. And that began my work to start representation beyond the Tongan community. I also took part in founding Tongan Women's Association, which involved helping families, those who were affected during COVID-19. Also, my 9 to 5 is I am a Pacific Islander outreach worker for IRCO, Immigrants, Refugee, and Community Organization. I currently work with high-risk kids in high school and beyond. And yeah. The significance of the Ta'olunga and its smooth movements are to demonstrate the story of the song. Lele Me Toke Lau is about how people of the islands coming to America looking for a new life, for example, education, resources, and life beyond the islands. Specifically, when you dance in Tongan, hands are usually clasped like this and movements are smooth to demonstrate the story. And as I mentioned before, men usually are dancing around the woman who's dancing to protect her and to be her protector. Back in like old times, in the islands, men would go to war, and so they would be the warriors protecting their families, their culture, and beyond that.
With the Tongan and Talua, you have a solo dance with what Mele just did, and then you always have a male performer. There always be behind the girl. There will never be, there'll never be ahead of her. So they need to be behind her and just be around her. This is long. You cannot pass her and dance in front of her. And their role is to protect her. And then, as Melly say, all her moves are very smooth, elegant, and so forth. And then when you have a male performer around her, it's more aggressive. It's more, it's like it comes in with thunder, It's just to scare off the enemy. And, she is to be protected. And then to let everybody know that she's surrounded by, warrior that, protect her in every way. And that's the role of the male performer. So we value women. They are the ones that give life to continue. So we put women in very, very high status, within the family, within the community, just within our culture. So
We began the Tongan Women's Association because there was a very large gap between resources coming from uh, the the um, the government to help, especially those who are not citizens in the Portland metro area. And so what we decided was to bring a group of 7 to 10, about 7 to 10 number of women. Uh, it's mixed generations. We have women who are in their uh, middle-aged women, we have younger women, we have women in high school, and we just came together and we started distributing resources such as like sanitary products, monetary cards, and other stuff that would help families, in this difficult time, especially during the early stages of COVID, where we didn't really know what was happening. And just being that resource to the community meant a lot, and we helped over hundreds of families.
the challenges within our community, if you notice, if you look at the stats, within the last 2 years with the impact of COVID-19, the Pacific Islander community is the highest impact community, more than any other community. One of the reason is, the challenge is, we live in multi-generation household, and most of our families, we do not have a spare bedroom. So if one of the family is, tested positive, it's more like it just, a matter of time where the entire family, will be tested positive. And then we don't have the resources, to have them, isolate themselves, elsewhere, hotels, motels, and so forth, And most of our families are from lower tax bracket. So the resources was lacking, and a lot of our Pacific Islander community-based organization was, a heavy lifter in trying to secure funds for our community. And we did receive a lot of this funding, but the needs are more than the services that was available. But still, we welcome those services and resources during this COVID-19. But it wasn't enough, to support our community. It's more than what we have had in the past. So that we welcome, and that's a new thing. And it's good that mainstream, is starting to give us attention, whereas in the past, We were just viewed as, we need your attention, we need your input, we need you to be in this focus group. And then they would take our input, information, and then that's the end of that. But with this COVID-19, with the push of a lot of our community leaders from our Micronesian community, Polynesian community, we were able to secure some resources that we didn't receive in the past. And that's one of the challenges because we live in multi-generation and so forth. And some of our community members, they're front worker. They're out there, and they're the one that are most impacted. And some of them lost wages, lost job, and that impact the family. And then a lot of these families are not eligible for unemployment. So we have to reach out to our own community to share what we have. And so that's just running us thin during this past 2 years, but we're surviving and we're still supporting each other.
Definitely, there's a stark difference, especially between like my first 2 years and my last two. Just transitioning into online, I was okay with it, just protect everyone being in their own households, but it did take a toll on me. I did. It did help like being in person, being allowed to have a space at Portland State. We have a Pacific Islander Club. Where I was able to interact with people from Hawaii, from Samoa, those who came as international students. And that just helped me feel like I belonged at Portland State. We still uphold the Pacific Islander Club, even online. And I think that's such a great resource, especially for me, who is a very small, very, very small percentage of those who attend college in the Portland metro area.
Education is huge in our community, just like other community. That's why we're here in America. We're here for better education for our children, and I'm not just talking about our community. I'm speaking for myself. So my parents moved here when I was age 9, and I was the middle child. And there was three of us, and two of us graduated from college. And as soon as we graduated, our parent went back home. And that's the reason why they came here. And they were working on lower paying job, just to support us and be there for us and have an opportunity for us to move onto higher education. Whereas if we were in Tonga, our parents and our family do not have the means to send us out of the country for higher education. So that's why they made the sacrifice for us to be here. Education is huge in our island. We have one of the most highest literacy rate in the world. Our literacy rate is up there at 97, 98, and um, that's a reflection of the importance of education to our community. But because of lack of opportunity, we have to leave the island in pursuit of opportunity for higher education.
Yes. So the importance of education is very, very important to the Tongan culture. For example, I'm first generation, I hear stories of my mom telling of what life is back in the islands, and it's difficult. It's very, trying to make ends meet. And the type of life that she would always depict to me is like, as the growing population in Tonga, that means limited jobs, that means limited opportunities, and as well as some alternatives is you sell crops, and that's barely making it. And just bringing not only herself but also her family here to America, it's allowed me like perspective that education is very important, well, not only to like grow within myself and my career, but also to help my family, help my community am also to make sure I don't forget those who are back in the islands and provide opportunities for them as well. As for cultural preservation, growing up, my mom would always take me to concerts or Tongan functions where we would interact with other Tongans my age or other churches. And I think definitely coming from a country who's very church affiliated, where everyone goes to church, or if you don't, that's totally fine. But that alone gave us an outlet to be able to read Tongan, to speak Tongan, and to, have the privilege to keep our native tongue. And I think that's very important even to those of young Tongan Americans like myself. And I think that one of the main reasons we're able to preserve our culture is to to have a strong connection to our church and our community.
So our churches play a huge part in cultural preservation for our community. This is where our children know how to read and write in Tongan because of the hymn and Christmas plays and different plays throughout the year that they need to practice. And also, not only for those events, we also teach our children from a very young age with the dances that Mele performed earlier. That's some of the dances that they teach young girls at a very early age to perform in a festive event. It's our church. It's not just for religious purposes. We have a social event happening at church. We have faith, doctrine being taught there, and also to pass down our formal protocol in different events, such as a funeral, wedding, birthdays, and so forth. So all these are being handed down in a church environment. So church plays a huge role, and this is how we see church. When people come to here in Portland, they don't ask, how big is the community here? They ask, how many churches do you guys have? So that's the gauge of how big, the town or the city that you live in, with how many churches that's out there. So church plays a huge part in a lot of our social upbringing, culture preservation, and of course our spiritual growth.
One thing I do want to mention about the Tongan people is that Tonga is one of the last standing monarchs in the South Pacific, and we hold that very close to us, and we carry that throughout our entire lives, where imperialism did not affect Tonga as greatly as the surrounding islands, and that just shows up how proud we are of how proud Tongans we are, as well as how rich our culture is even today.
Tongan culture, it might seem, if you see us out in the park, we having festival, we might have a rugby game, we probably have some kind of barbecue, community barbecue out in the park. It might look intimidating, to engage in our circle and so forth. But once you're in our circle, once you're being introduced to our family and our circle, there is no happy medium. You're gonna look at us as a stranger, but then once you come in, there is no, building relationship. You move from a stranger to become one of the family member. Then we accept you, everything, and we accept whoever you have ties with. Now you are part of our family. That's just, this is a very common foundation for not only for the Tongan, but throughout the whole entire Pacific. This is just part of our culture. And then once we welcome you, we welcome you as a part of our family. And here in Portland, Oregon, as mentioned, we have Tonga Day. We want to hold that once a year to preserve that in honor of our Tongan community contributing to society. Also, it's a community education piece for the rest of Portland community to learn of who we are. We're not just football players and we're not just hula dancers, you know? So we go to the libraries, we go to schools, and we have other things other than, being an athlete, in which we are. We have a lot of our youth and our children are in athlete. Speaking about football, because in America, if you're born to a Pacific Islander and you're a male, you are 5 to 6 times better having a chance to be an NFL player. That's just the stats is very high, but we're not all that. We have other talents, we have other things that represent our culture as well. So want to invite you guys to Tonga Day 2020, 2022. We missed 2020 and 2021 due to COVID-19, but we're gonna make up those last 2 years. And 2022, August, it'll be free for the family. We're gonna have entertainment. We're gonna have Mele. Of course, you'll be performing that day, and a lot of different performers from the island of Chuuk, Marshall Island, Samoa Island, and a variety of different islands. So it's a one-stop, go to the island free for a day here in Portland, Oregon. Thank you, Ofatu Malo.
Thank you for joining the Tongan celebration and showcasing today. We'll see you later. Ofatu.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful and safe day. Ofatu, goodbye.
Sol aqui Jerusalém, aqui ele e que é fonu, aqui é tomutu, oi Pacifici. Pea edika, te tafama, eko evai, pea tama, kata ikuo, sigi etai, kata mama. Ofa he fora o koto moa, tauele o tofua, dusi e o makai ki ama, ila kita pana. Ao e uru kitoa, fae o kupala, fufau haeba, e koe tahini a o e hatula, moe anga. Pacific Pegi mo pisini si toko beki to amareki kene fakasi si gieta